But yeah, I mean, I think it'll eventually happen. Like I said, the gates are starting to slowly come down. You've got a few influencers, Ivan on Tech. As you can tell by our thumbnail, all these guys now that are talking about it. Ivan on Tech. You had that the other guy,
Moon Carl Rand's on there, and
Moon Carl actually sacrificed for Pulse Chain. So once these guys get their sacrifice in Pulse, they'll start talking about it because they want to pump their own bags. I think that's why they haven't said anything so far. But once that happens, they'll talk about it because they're invested. We know they invested. BitBoy invested, or BitBoy sacrificed. Moon Carl sacrificed. You had that. What was his name? Mason.
Pip just said this. I don't know. I'm trying to remember who this channel is. I'm sure I've seen it, but he said Crypto Mason just today.
I'm not familiar.
I don't know what he's saying.
Crypto Mason.
Okay, I think I know. I think I've heard of that channel, but anyway.
But that the Mason kid, he was one of the. If you look back on the Hex Rewind from 2020 or 2021, I forget which one, but he was one of the guys that said Hex is flat out a scam. Like he completely just annihilated
dug his heels
it.
in.
Yeah. And now just the other day he came out and tweeted, I'm now neutral on Hex. He didn't say he was.
Yeah, I saw that.
That was the guy. So he did a video and everything like that, and I think what we as a community have to be understanding of these people that are going to change their minds and welcome them in. Dude has like 150,000 followers. So we don't want to alienate them at all. So, I mean, Wendy O said something yesterday about how passionate the community was. And, one of Ivan's comments the other day as well was, he's so impressed by the Hexicans and how they can rally in such a short period of time and just show up and just annihilate a tweet. He was quite impressed by the community. So, we need to take these things and take advantage of them and embrace them into our community and let them keep talking about it. It's going to get more eyes on what we're doing. It's going to bring eyes to Pulse Chain. We can't alienate people and said, no, screw you. You said it was a scam, and I'm never going to forgive you, kind of thing. I don't think that's the way that we want. You alienate them, you just lose all those followers that could have been eyes on it for somebody finally saying nice things. So.
I totally agree with you. I could not agree more. Yeah, that's that scarcity mentality that we've talked about on this show before. That is really lived. I want to be careful here. It's very. There's somebody within Hex that lives that every single day, and it sucks that they're like that. But yeah, that has that scarcity mentality. And yeah, you have to not worry about who the people are, what they've said about it before, what else they might like to invest in because it's their own damn life. And, if they're open to Hex, don't you want them buying something that you're also involved in? I mean, I agree that Hex is, I would probably call it the best protocol there is. I know most people watching this are probably Hexicans anyway. I would say, well, yes, of course I believe that. I think that too. But, I wonder what that is, and thank you for the transition, Pip, to really get us into this topic by asking your question, because this judging obviously by the thumbnail was one of the main things we wanted to talk about tonight. But I want to ask you, Ewok, like, other than just I don't know if it was just Richard Hart, I don't know if it was like the advertising of 38% APY. I don't know what it is, but for some of these people that are coming around a couple of years in, I don't know if it was the fact that it's like a smaller DeFi product. Or is it the fact that a lot of Hex, I hate like the term influencer, I guess that's what it is, but like a lot of Hex streamers, people that talk a lot about Hex, the reason it gets called a cult, which I don't even think it's necessarily a negative connotation. I'll get to what I mean by that in a minute. But, they're totally decked out in Hex. I know you wear like a sweatshirt or whatever from time to time, but if you've seen like crypto coffee sets or Randy Hilarski or some of these people, it looks like a cult. Like literally, they have a room in their house with like Hex stuff in the background. They're wearing Hex stuff every day, and it's crazy. And yeah, the normal person would look at that maybe without knowing much about it at first and be like, what in the hell is this? You know,
Yeah.
and I think that's what happens. Yeah. I mean, I'm serious. I'm not criticizing it.
Right.
I'm just saying that, like, you know, think back to, you know, you're not a good example of this, neither am I, but think back to like before you even knew anything about crypto and you just like see something like that as like, Jesus Christ. I mean, if you're not into crypto, you're going to think that about anything. You see Vitalik Buterin, you're going to be like, what the hell's up with this dude with his face up some girl's ass at like a convention or something like, but like, I'm just saying there's a lot of stuff. So the cult thing, what I mean by that is I'm just saying that some of those people might've been turned off by that or don't understand it at first, but I'm telling you now, like with crypto, you want that to exist.
Yeah.
To invest in some of these tokens and
I
let
agree.
those minions do the work for you. Anyway, go ahead.
So what I was going to say, I don't know if you've ever noticed, like if you watch a sports show, a couple guys talking about sports, their room is usually decked out with their favorite team or helmets or jerseys, or I see no different, right? You got a Green Bay Packers fan who their floor is green and yellow, and they got cheese heads all over the place and things like that. People are passionate about what they like, and they talk about. So I kind of compare it to that, and I don't see a whole lot of difference.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. Crypto Coffee, you know, he's got the shields on the wall. We have guys in Hex that do just about everything. You know, if you want memorabilia or signs or lights or whatever, the shields, there's merch sites out there with all kind of t-shirts and sweatshirts and tank tops, and you know, you name it. And I think for a community this young and this early to have all that stuff, I think it took people by surprise. I really do. I think people were caught off guard with it, and it does kind of put I don't want to say scammy vibe out there. But they just don't understand how passionate we are about it. I think is what the real cause of it is, and why they feel that way. You know, Richard himself has said, "I use a lot of scam tactics when I was marketing, because that's what catches people's attention." So I do understand why people kind of were put off by it because of those tactics and the marketing that was used in the beginning. But it worked. It got their attention, and they were talking about it. You know, not all press is good press. Even bad press can get eyes on it. So even if you get a couple of those people that at least look into it and do their homework, you know, that's what we really have to focus on, is the people to do their homework and look into see what it is, rather than just repeat an old narrative that they heard 2 years ago or an article. Right. Because I saw that the other day too. Somebody reposted an article that was done in, you know, early 2020. And all of that stuff has been disproven multiple times over, but yet they're still regurgitating it. So, you know, like I said, I compare it to a very avid sports fan, I think, and that's probably the best way to you know, to compare the two.
I see that completely. Yeah, I think that's a great comparison. And to be frank, I will do if I walked into a grown man's house that had, you know, had it decked out with, you know, I'll just use the number one team that everybody is always obsessed with that perpetually sucks, the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
If somebody had, you know, their whole house decked out with that, or any team, I'd be like, okay, this guy's a loser. You know, I mean, I'm not as into doing that. That'd be like the first, admittedly, a judgment I would make. And I do think when I see that stuff, regardless of anything it is, I think it's strange. I would never do it. I actually don't even like to wear clothes that have like any labeling on it or anything like that.
Right.
But I understand it. Like I especially with like, you know, crypto, if you're in crypto, you're already a very small subset of humanity. You know, you're a very small subset of an investor type at this point so far. Then if you're into DeFi as a whole, you're in an even more specific subset of that. Like you're somebody who has made the effort to understand what crypto really is, how it really should be used, and things like that. Then if you're into HEX, you're into like every principle there really is in terms of crypto, you know? So I understand wanting to shill it. And not only that, it's badass marketing from Richard. Like, and I don't mean the outrage marketing. I mean, like, the design of the Hex site. Like no
Mhm.
site looks that good. And I'm not just saying that. Like
Right.
I'm not somebody who's like streaming about Hex every day. I like Hex and I have Hex and stuff. So, take that for what you will. Like I think the way the Pulse chain design, the Pulse X design, the color choices, they're obviously, Hex is the Instagram color scheme and Pulse chain is the Facebook Messenger color scheme. And then
Yeah.
Pulse X is like Christmas colors or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, it reminds me of like a pizza shop, and it catches your eye, and they
It does.
all go together, and it's down to the font on the website. Everything looks beautiful. Like I don't think it can be denied. I think it's pretty much neutral. I think it's fantastic, and it looks really good. So yeah, and yeah, I could see why people would want to wear stuff like that because it also looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
So